So up to this point, we have been so reliant on our old coping mechanisms. Those old methods that we've literally conditioned unconsciously is how we react to things around life. And that's why we've numbed, sedated, all sorts of things. And boredom is a huge one as well. So this next step, basically think of it's another pillar, and it's what I call the trifecta. It's what we can do to actually start changing how we feel in a moment so we don't rely on those old outdated methods. So if you will, think of it like we are changing our emotional baseline. So up here is where we tend to want to live, and when we get triggered or we have a negative experience, we fall down here into this pit of hopelessness, the pit of despair. And so what we're looking at is, what is the quickest way, other than those old unhealthy ways that I've been doing, regardless of my drug of choice, that I've been doing just to try to anesthetize the situation of being down here just deep in that hopelessness. And so we're gonna go ahead and show you some quick and fast ways to get back up to here so we don't keep that cycle of the sickness going. So there's three parts to this trifecta, if you imagine a little triangle right here. And it's physiology, focus, and what I call phonics. So let's go ahead and narrow it down to the first part, which is physiology. It's just a fancy way of meaning body, posturing, what I'm doing with the physical part. So one of the ways I heard it best explained to understand this and what we already do unconsciously is this. Let's say I've got two different people and you're gonna help me self-diagnose, if you will, what is going on with each body. So one person, let's imagine they're behind me. We're gonna label them depressed, or really down, or deep, dark sadness in this pit of hopelessness, what we've been talking about. How do you think they are? So let's start from head down. So let's look at their head. Do you think their head is up and eye contact, or maybe down? Do you think their shoulders are maybe rolled over and they're kind of like in a smaller position, or rolled back? Breathing wise, do you think they're breathing deeply and rooted, or maybe shallow or timid breathing? As we start to look at all the physical aspects, the body, we can start to define, oh, wait a minute, these are the patterns that we see, I would say 10 out of 10 times. Now let's talk about person number two. Let's go ahead and describe them. Let's say they're in a celebratory or an elated or very happy state. What do they look like? What's their physiology? Same questions, head up or head down, deep diaphragmatic breathing. The visual I get is maybe fist pumping, or again, shoulders back or forward. When we look at these different things, we can see our body is already in tune of what it does naturally to create the depth in these different states. And so every person that I've taken through this exercise, I've yet to have one person that doesn't get it. So if you're the first, please let me know. But they nail it head on. When you say depressed, I have a lot of people, they'll say maybe the fetal position, they're probably maybe crying, no eye contact, shoulders down, shallow breathing, timid, and it's kind of like, yeah. Now what about the other person? Oh man, they're probably standing up, they're breathing, they're celebrating. A lot of the times we'll talk about sporting events and how we just let loose and how excited we get and how great we feel. So when we look at the physiological aspect, the body, we can start to see things that we naturally do unconsciously that perpetuate this feeling of emotion. So that is one aspect that we want to keep an eye on. So as we start to look at these nuances, we can start to pull ourselves out, because this is a large part of it. If I'm feeling a certain way, to be aware. Remember, awareness is the first part, is the first key of this whole aspect. And so as I become aware, and this is where I've shared it with you guys, I battled severe depression at a point in my life where I actually became suicidal. It was crazy, and I know that darkness. And I didn't have this information back then. And it's actually one of the things that helped take me out of that. But here's what it looked like is I would literally lie in bed. I wouldn't want to do anything, I didn't care. And as I started getting educated about this stuff, it became so, I don't know, it was like this self-fulfilling prophecy. And they say fake it till you make it. I got this one from, what's his name? Trent Shelton? I forgot. Anyways, got to meet him a few years ago, and I love it. He goes, no, I don't like fake it till you make it. I like faith it till you make it. If I have faith that other people have come before me, that if I do this and have patience, then I will get this result. I'm like, gosh, I like that one. And so by faithing it till you make it, of going, okay, if I smile, they say there's so many muscles in here. And the way we are created, it actually releases certain brain chemicals. The whole brain's, the psychology mixed with the pharmacological aspect that's already in our minds. We are literally the most ideal pharmacy in the world. I've seen all these different studies based on it, and it's incredible. And when I smile, believe it or not, it actually releases little endorphins. They did a study, this was back, I think, at the University of Washington a long time ago. I think it was like the 80s or 90s. But what they found is clinically depressed people, and what they would do, now, this is just an example, I'm not saying go off meds. What they did, if I recall, is they took everyone off meds. There were doctors there, and it was a safe setting. They pulled them off meds, and they had them smile in a mirror. And I think it was 5 or 10 minutes a day, maybe a little longer. But they did that every day for 30 days. And then they went ahead and went back to these people that were identifying as depressed and struggling. And then they had them remeasure and self-evaluate. And they said, I'm not depressed, I'm actually very happy. Now, I haven't looked into the depth of this. I just remember hearing it and thinking, gosh, that's interesting. But here's the part that I pulled from it is, wow, how important our body is in our chemistry, that our body invokes these types of chemicals when I'm actually doing these types of things. So it's not a cure-all. I'm not saying, hey, this is the only way, but what I'm saying is, in my experience and from what I've looked at, when I'm aware of what I'm doing with my body and my breathing and all these different aspects, it actually leverages how I feel. So that's just that first pillar, which is the physiology. I love watching sports because you'll see athletes actually already do this to get in state. I remember watching the games before Kobe. He would be in state. He would be so like centered in and honed in. There's videos where people are jumping out trying to scare him or pumping the ball in his face, and when he's in the zone, he doesn't flinch at all. It's incredible at how incredible he was at this. I think I said incredible one too many times. But then you also got LeBron James, actually all the greats of different sports. You look at LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, David Beckham, Michael Phelps. Regardless of sport, when you watch them, when they get in state, they're not sitting there going, okay, it's game time. That'd be crazy, right? When they hone this, when they get involved, they go game time. Oh, they get pumped up, their fist pumping. I love LeBron James, does a little thing. Michael Phelps goes right over left, left over right. They have these nuances that they do because they're aware, and they get their body in, and it changes their state. It's like a switch. We can use that. Us civilians can use this to actually shape how we're feeling. Now, another aspect going even further into this is breath work and meditation. When I actually go through and do deep diaphragmatic breathing, even if it's just a count to 5, 5 out, 5 in, it's incredible how it changes our state, our physiology. And when we meditate, it actually like opens us up to this. I don't want to get too, as one of my buddies says, too hibbity-dibbity, but by understanding this, by taking and creating space, and by doing shoulders back and deep rooted and breathing, it's incredible at how it changes not only the chemicals in our mind, but also the way we feel. Now we'll go in even more. I know sometimes when I get so angry, when I am like just experiencing and seeing red, I've got to break that state because everything is clenched and tense. So what I'll do is I'll stop and I'll do like 10 burpees. I don't know why it works so well. I think it just breaks the whole mindset, but by getting physical, going down, doing a push-up, jumping up in the air, I release all this energy. I'm able to just let it go so it's not pent up within. And furthermore, I don't release it on people that I love. Have you ever noticed that? We tend to release the crazy stuff on the people we love the most. So by understanding, again, sticking with this whole body and physiological aspect, by releasing the energy when I'm really angry or mad, it helps dissipate that energy. And again, it comes down to this awareness and actually utilizing these tools when I'm starting to feel these emotions. Now, if it's less severe, I'll just take a little 10-minute walk around the block. Just, oh gosh, by literally getting sun on my face and just moving and getting the blood flowing, so many times that helps. That has actually helped me. Little marital advice from a person, you know, I'm not the end all be all, I make mistakes all the time. I'm 12 years into marriage, so I'm doing something right. In Orange County, that's like 45 years equivalent. It's a joke. But just by removing myself and going for a little brisk walk or going out in the backyard and doing some burpees, it's incredible at how I'm able to regain composure to get rid of that. It's just that physiological aspect that we're really honing in on. And one final little aspect that really helps, this one, it's not so much just physiological, but it actually focuses on the mind and body. I like doing a little motivational. I have, I think, 5 or 6 saved YouTube videos that are like 5 minutes each of just that are so inspirational and motivational. Same thing, I've got, gosh, I think my library, I've got about 10 songs now that I've ingrained that when I listen to, it just, literally, I can be down like this and I put the music in and all of a sudden, after a few minutes, I'm like, oh, it just feels so good. I know it sounds weird. Listen, I remember watching and learning videos like this when I was on the other side, when I was actually in that hopelessness and going, that is phooey, I don't care. But for me, it got so painful, I was willing to do anything. I'm hoping you're not there where you're in so much pain that that's what's motivating you. What we find is, oh, I can change at any level up here. I don't have to wait for that hopelessness of falling in the manhole of hopelessness, if you will. But that's a great little hack these days because it's free, it's on YouTube, you can find them, it's great, it's just a few minutes and it helps change that physiological state.